Welcome back to my channel Celeb Buzz. Please share and subscribe and press the bell icon for new updates.
They say the heart moves on quietly, but when the world is watching, even a whisper can turn into a storm. The internet is buzzing again, and this time, it's about Orlando Bloom, Katy Perry, and a name no one saw coming, Justin Trudeau. It began with a joke. A cruel, clever joke. A satirical post in The Onion. Painting a surreal picture of Orlando, alone but smiling, dining with former German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Wine glasses, oysters, a decadent slice of chocolate cake. All while the headlines hinted at something far more complicated. His ex, Katy Perry, and her alleged new closeness with Canada's former Prime Minister. The world laughed. Orlando clapped back, not with words, but with a quiet row of emojis. A round of applause as if to say, I see the joke. I get it. But behind that playful reaction, was there a trace of something deeper? Because just weeks before the laughter, there had been heartbreak. They were once the golden couple, Orlando and Katy. Two stars orbiting the same sky. Their love, impossible to ignore. From glamorous red carpets to quiet walks with their daughter in tow, they looked like a fairy tale written for cameras. But behind every perfect picture is a story no one sees. They got engaged. They had a child. They survived fame, distance, and the weight of expectations. But in the end, even the brightest flames flicker. And sometimes they fade. Daisy Dove, their daughter, just 4 years old, the love of both their lives. And maybe the only thing keeping them gently tethered now. Because a few weeks ago, it became official. Orlando Bloom and Katy Perry announced what many had already sensed. A quiet shift, not an explosive breakup, not bitter accusations, just a carefully worded statement, full of soft edges, due to the abundance of recent interest in conversation. It began almost as if trying to calm the waters before the storm. Their representatives confirmed what fans feared. The relationship was changing. Orlando and Katy were no longer partners in romance, but in parenthood. They would co-parent, raise Daisy together, prioritize love, stability, and mutual respect. Beautiful words, safe words, but words that often signal something final. A chapter closing, without saying the book is over. And then, as if the universe wasn't done testing hearts, the whispers began. A dinner in Montreal. Katy Perry, seen stepping out with none other than Justin Trudeau, Canada's former Prime Minister, a man who, just like her, had recently walked away from a marriage, a man familiar with public scrutiny with secrets. They dined at Le Violin. Smiles were exchanged. Cameras flashed. And suddenly, the internet had a new favorite rumor. Was it just a coincidence? Or was it something more? The timing couldn't have been colder. Just weeks after Orlando and Katy had made their separation public. And suddenly, it wasn't Katy and Orlando that people were talking about. It was Katy and Justin, as if love had simply moved on. And Orlando? He stayed quiet. No interviews. No emotional outbursts. Just silence. Until someone else decided to speak. The Onion, a satirical outlet, known for comedy, but with a knife hidden beneath the punchline. They posted a story. Completely fake. Orlando Bloom seen dining with Angela Merkel. The headline read. The joke was clear. It wasn't just parody, it was commentary. On the way tabloids spin narratives. On the absurdity of celebrity gossip. On the pain that hides beneath polite smiles and press releases. In the photo, Orlando sits beside Germany's former chancellor, laughing, sharing wine, slurping oysters, splitting a rich slice of chocolate cake. The image was ridiculous, and yet somehow it hit a nerve. And how did Orlando respond? He clapped, literally, a string of clapping emojis. Simple, light, dismissive, but also telling. Maybe he laughed. Maybe it was real amusement. Or maybe it was something else. Maybe it was the only way he knew how to respond. To let the world know he's fine. That he's above it. That he's not broken. But sometimes, humor is just pain wearing a mask. Because let's be honest, love, when it ends, doesn't vanish overnight. It lingers. In memories. In shared custody schedules. In the eyes of a child who doesn't understand why together became separate, no one truly knows what Orlando feels. Behind the polished exterior, behind the actor's charm and poise, does he scroll through headlines and shrug them off? Or does he pause when he sees Katy and Justin's name side by side? We'll probably never know. Because Orlando Bloom isn't the kind of man who feeds a machine. He doesn't rage against it. He doesn't spill secrets for sympathy. Instead, he plays along, drops a few emojis, lets the joke run its course. Because maybe, just maybe, he knows the truth will find its way out eventually. That behind all the speculation, there's a quieter story. One of heartbreak. Yes, but also of grace. Because even now, even after the romantic chapter is closed, he continues to stand by Katy as a co-parent. They show up for Daisy. Together, united. That's not the drama people crave. But it's the kind of strength that rarely makes headlines. It's love in a different form. It's redemption without the applause. And perhaps that's the most human part of Orlando's journey. Not the relationships, not the red carpets, but the resilience. The way he moves through rumors and satire and speculation with quiet dignity. The way he chooses peace over performance. Because when love collapses under the spotlight, someone always gets burned. But not everyone chooses to rise from the ashes with a smile. Orlando did. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real story here. Not the headline that made you laugh. Not the AI-generated dinner date with Angela Merkel. Not even the soft glow of a dinner in Montreal, where Katy Perry and Justin Trudeau shared a table, exchanged glances, and unknowingly set fire to 1,000 blog posts. No, the story, the real story, is about something quieter, something far more human. It's about a man standing at the edge of public scrutiny and choosing not to scream. Orlando Bloom didn't release a statement. He didn't go on talk shows or drop cryptic lyrics in a song. He didn't clap back with sarcasm or bitterness. He clapped, literally, with emojis, a slow, polite applause under a fake headline about a fake romance. Some called it funny. Others called it classy. But what if it was neither? What if it was armor? Because sometimes silence isn't emptiness. Sometimes silence is strategy. The world loves drama. It feasts on it. But when someone refuses to play the game, refuses to spiral or retaliate or fall apart for public consumption, people get uncomfortable. We don't always know what to do with quiet strength, and that's what Orlando showed us. He didn't fight the narrative. He didn't try to control it. He simply let it unfold. Not the image, not the past. But the one thing that still connects him to Katy Perry in the most profound, irreversible way, their daughter, Daisy Dove. A little girl who didn't choose the spotlight, or the headlines, or the rumors. A little girl who doesn't care about who's dating who. She just wants to be loved. And that's what Orlando chose to protect. That's where his energy went. Not to arguments or egos or trying to win a breakup, but to being a present father. A steady figure. A quiet source of love in a world that loves to shout. Think about that. In a moment where he could have fed the fire, he chose peace. Not because he's unaffected, but because maybe he's finally wise enough to know that not every fight deserves a sword. So now we ask you, what do you believe? Do you see a man truly unshaken, moving through the world with grace? Or do you see a man holding it together while quietly breaking inside? Is this humor or heartbreak in disguise? Sometimes we laugh not because we're amused, but because it's the only thing we can do. And what about Katy? And Justin Trudeau? Did they find something real in each other? Or are they both just reaching for something familiar in unfamiliar territory? Is this a rebound or a rebirth? Are they falling in love or just falling forward? These are the questions the headlines won't answer for you. Because the truth isn't loud. It's quiet. It sits in the spaces between interviews. It lingers behind the eyes during a smile. It slips into a comment section unnoticed. That's where we find it. Here at Celeb Buzz, we don't just chase the flashiest story. We listen for the ones whispered between the lines. We dig beneath the surface of the trending topics, the viral photos, the rumors dressed up as fact, Because we know every rumor hides a truth. Every ending deserves to be understood. And every person, no matter how famous, has a story worth hearing. So if you felt something during this journey, if you saw more than just another celebrity headline, if you paused, even for a second, to wonder what heartbreak really looks like when no one's watching, then don't let this moment scroll past. Hit like. It helps more than you think. Subscribe so you don't miss the next untold chapter. And most of all, leave a comment. Tell us what your heart tells you. Or is he simply playing the role life handed him? The way so many of us do when the lights are on, the world is watching, and the only choice left is to appear okay? Maybe he really has moved on. Maybe he's stronger now, more grounded, more certain of who he is outside the shadow of Orlando and Katy. But maybe, just maybe, he still wakes up some mornings wondering how things unraveled so quietly. Not with a scream, not with betrayal, but with time, silence, and the subtle erosion of what once felt unshakable. Is he really okay? Or just really good at pretending? That's the quiet mystery behind every celebrity split. Behind every carefully crafted statement. Behind every emoji, every smile at a red carpet, every source to say headline. Because grief doesn't always come in loud sobs. Sometimes it wears a tuxedo and waves at cameras. Sometimes it claps for a joke about dining with Angela Merkel, just to say, I'm fine, even when the heart is still sorting through memories that won't stop playing. And what about Katy and Justin? Do you think what we saw, that brief dinner in Montreal, was the beginning of something real? Or was it just two broken people, in the middle of their own quiet storms, finding momentary comfort in familiar eyes? Both are newly single. Both carry the weight of love stories that didn't end the way fairy tales promised. And sometimes, in that shared grief, we reach for connection, even when it's temporary. Is it love, or is it healing? Is it destiny, or is it a detour? Only time will tell. But here's what we do know. Fame doesn't protect people from pain. It doesn't shield them from longing, confusion, or regret. If anything, it magnifies it. Because the world is always watching, always guessing, always twisting private moments into public spectacle. But beneath the fame, beneath the filters, the press releases, the stage smiles, lies something raw, something beautifully flawed, something honest. People trying, failing, forgiving, starting over, protecting what still matters, even when love changes its shape. That's why we tell these stories. Not to gossip, not to fuel rumors, not to stir up drama that doesn't belong to us, but to remind you that behind every headline is a human heart, beating, breaking, rebuilding. Because celebrity doesn't make someone immune to hurt. It doesn't make their endings easier. It doesn't make their choices simpler. It just makes their pain harder to hide. And at Celeb Buzz, we believe that deserves empathy. We believe that deserves to be told, not as a joke, not as clickbait, but as a reflection of something deeper. Something we all understand, even if we don't always say it aloud. The feeling of watching someone you once loved walk away. The ache of raising a child in two homes. The strength it takes to stay civil when your heart still wants answers. The courage to find laughter in the middle of loss. That's not gossip. That's humanity. And that's what we're here to uncover. So, thank you for being here. Truly, thank you for listening, for feeling, for wondering, for not just scrolling past a story, but sitting with it, even for a moment, and asking, what if this were me? Because this isn't just a channel. It's not just another voice shouting into the noise. This is a conversation, a space for connection, a place where we pull back the curtain just a little and remember that fame doesn't erase the things that make us human. And stories like this, they're just the beginning. Because there are always more layers, always more truths hidden beneath the flashbulbs and sound bites. And if we keep showing up with curiosity, with compassion, with open eyes and open hearts, then maybe we can start to see celebrities not as characters in a tabloid, but as people navigating love, loss, parenthood, and peace, just like us. So stay curious, stay kind, ask questions, feel deeply, and most of all, keep watching. Because here at Celeb Buzz, we don't just chase the story. We follow the heart behind it. Because the truth, the real, unfiltered, imperfect truth, always finds its way to the surface. Even when it's hidden, beneath a headline,